Hello, this is John Friedel, and you're listening to Episode 5 of Professor Slots.
John Friedel from the Professor Slots blog reveals all his slot machine casino gambling strategies, as well as tips and tricks for thriving in the casino environment. Choose winning slot machines and identify your gambling goals. Being entertained, earning comps, winning take-home cash, or combining them. John has won 90 taxable jackpots and a luxury car in 9 months of slot play and made a profit at slots gambling since 2013.
This episode details the third of 3 ways to readily increase overall baseline odds of winning to improve slot machine gambling performance by identifying gambling goals of interest to slot enthusiasts. Also this week, we will examine the current conditions for slot machine casino gambling in the U.S. state of Arizona. Show notes are available at professorslots.com/E5. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe. Again, that's professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. A player's style of gambling is based on their gambling goals. Slot players are no different from other types of gamblers in this regard. To achieve any goal, we need to first understand something about what that goal is. Somewhat unfortunately, perhaps, this means we need to understand ourselves well enough to know our own goals. This decision-making process is much like what I've sometimes seen with freshmen in college. So, what's your major? Can be a really tough question for students to answer. Since I've taught a lot of college students, I've seen this firsthand. Most figure it out eventually, perhaps with a bit of trial and error. Others have let their parents make the decision for them. Yet others never quite figure it out. Can you guess what my question is for you? So, what's your gambling goal? Many slots gamblers I've spoken with don't know the reason why they are gambling. They don't know their gambling goal or goals. And frankly, their gambling doesn't look like it's going very well for them. In my experience, slots players that know what their gambling goals are look like they are doing better than those that don't. These winners look happier and less stressed. Have you ever asked a fellow slots player how they're doing? And they respond with, "I'm breaking even." That's gambling code for they don't know. By the way, those that answer with, "That's none of your business," generally know exactly how well they're doing towards meeting their goals. They're just not willing to tell you is all. A slot machine player's performance should be judged by how well their gambling goals are being met. And, in general, we can have a difficult time recognizing if someone else's goals are being met, with the possible exception of whether they appear relatively happier or lower stressed. For example, if a slots player spends their entire bankroll and all the money they've made during their visit, have they met their gambling goals? Well, there's 3 possibilities. Maybe, if their goal was entertainment and they achieved that. Maybe, if their goal was to earn complimentary gifts via player club points. Or, probably not, if their goal was take-home cash. Again, a slot machine's player's performance should be judged by how well their gambling goals are being met. Only they know if they are. Why? Because those goals are entirely the province of each individual player's wants, needs, and desires. But that begs the question, what does winning mean to you? In other words, so, what's your gambling goal? In this segment, I try to help you identify gambling goals. The most common gambling goals are entertainment value, complimentary gifts or comps, and take-home money. I'll discuss each goal in detail in a moment, but first, we need to discuss if bankroll sizes matter. Before we can properly discuss gambling goals, we first need to understand the relationship these goals have with the size of a gambling bankroll. Why? Because how quickly these gambling goals are met, notice I didn't say if, is highly dependent on a player's available bankroll. A bankroll is the amount of money, the roll of bills, the wad of cash, a player has available to gamble with at a casino for any given visit. If a player can afford a small bankroll or a relatively larger bankroll, shouldn't be a judgment of gambling performance. Whether or not they're meeting their gambling goals is. Lesson number 1, and I've mentioned this before, Never spend money you can't afford to lose. So a relatively small bankroll can accomplish all three goals stated above. And if a relatively small bankroll is all you feel comfortable spending, then that's just perfect. Sometimes there's confusion about what are goals and what are not. It's often about mistaking goals for gifts. What I mean here is, you are unlikely to get to top-tier player club status within a calendar year via slot machine playing with small bankrolls. But getting a higher tier status is not a goal. That's a gift from the casino. Your goal is to earn a certain number of player club points that earns you the complimentary gifts that come with it, because you want those gifts, if getting gifts is your goal. The gifts are the goal, and the status is secondary. I should also mention that it's possible to achieve higher status with a small bankroll, but doing so will require a large time investment at casinos. Given its importance, I'll try to explain the difference between a goal and a gift in another way. Think of it this way. Good customer service is based on realizing what a customer really wants. A very classic example is the customer that walks into a hardware store asking for a 3/8 inch diameter drill bit. But what do they really want? It's not the drill bit. That's an intermediate step. What they truly want is a 3/8 inch diameter hole. Similarly, wanting an upper tier player club status isn't a goal. It's just something the casino may give you after doing particularly well at maximizing comps, entertainment value, or take-home money. In summary, bankroll size doesn't matter. It's important to bring to the casino what you're comfortable losing. And joining a players club is always important, but a high-tier status isn't the goal. Instead, it's a consequence of meeting your goals. So let's focus on identifying gambling goals. The three most common gambling goals are maximum entertainment value, maximum complimentary gifts or comps, and maximum take-home money. Are there other goals besides these three common ones? Yes. For example, my goal is to educate myself on topics I think will be of interest to my audience of slot enthusiasts. I watch for gambling patterns and then test if they can be used to win and document that. I examine casino services and operating systems for value for my customers. I delve into the gaming industry technology trends to find advantage plays. And I study what is of interest to my audience, like penny slots. Other gambling goals I've seen are bragging rights with friends as well as winning big promotional contests, usually in front of their friends. But entertainment, comps, and take-home cash embody most of what I've seen, so those are the three that I will focus on here. An important element of every type of gambling goal is to join and consistently use the Players Club card for any and all gambling. Doing so gains many benefits, some of which support increased entertainment by receiving invitation to promotional events, can make complimentary gifts possible, such as free small electronic devices and much more, and can lead to take-home cash through free slot play, for instance. Players Club programs are so important, I'm preparing a future episode segment on them, currently scheduled a bit out there, episode 16. In the meantime, if you're interested in learning more about the advantages to be found when using Player Club programs, see my blog article, 7 Advantages of Players Clubs. You'll find it at professorslots.com/clubs. Moving forward, let's first examine entertainment as a gambling goal. One gambling style or goal is pure and simple entertainment. Perhaps it involves going to a casino with friends, having a few drinks, maybe watch a sports game at the casino bar, have dinner, and, of course, gamble a bit. If someone in the group makes a few dollars, perhaps even wins $100 or $200, then they have bragging rights with their friends. In this way, an enjoyable evening is had by all. Or perhaps a pair of individuals or spouses visit a casino together for, say, date night. Or, yet again, a single individual enjoys their time at a casino after a hard day at work, a time of relaxation. Whatever the situation, groups large and small visit casinos for entertainment purposes. The style of gambling for entertainment purposes is by far the most common. The parking lots and structures attached to casinos are filled with the cars and trucks of gamblers with an entertainment goal. The total cost for an individual for an entertaining evening of gambling can easily be $100 or less. Players using this style bring with them only a set amount of money or bankroll. Their intention is to spend it all, if relatively slowly. They typically don't attempt to withdraw more from their financial accounts while at the casino, and their financial goal is to be able to play for a while. Perhaps occasionally they earn the aforementioned bragging rights, along with the genuine or finged respect and awe of their friends. They may or may not be a member of the casino's Players Club program, but if they are, their activity level typically places them well within the lowest tier of play. And they are perfectly fine with that. In general, they are the happiest type of gamblers, by far. So let's move on to earning complimentary gifts. But I want to transition from entertainment goal to complimentary gifts goal carefully. It's worth mentioning that earning complimentary gifts can be highly entertaining, and an entertainment goal can be to earn complimentary gifts. But having a goal of earning complimentary gifts means being focused on actions and approaches to gambling, which may not always be highly entertaining. For example, imagine you're an entertainment-focused gambler enjoying your regular monthly trip to a casino to spend $100. Going to a casino for a couple of hours every month or so is a somewhat rare entertainment event. Because it is a relatively rare event, it is unlikely to be boring. Now, imagine you're a comps-focused gambler. What would you do different? This is what you'd do different. You'd go to the casino with your $100 far more often than monthly. It might be weekly. It might even be 3 times a week. And how often visits occur could have a severe impact on entertainment level achieved. Identifying your gambling goals means understanding what winning means to you. An enjoyable evening out gambling with friends at a casino creates friendships and memories. These can be priceless. But maybe it's more important to you to fill your spare bedroom with complimentary gifts, perhaps to re-gift on major holidays to your friends who do or do not gamble. Hopefully, whatever you do at a casino will be somewhat entertaining, but entertainment during the casino visit itself may be secondary. It's a good time to mention the difference between online social games versus brick-and-mortar casinos with slot machines for betting. By online social games, I don't mean online casinos. I mean games where paying may be optional, but nothing can be won and then withdrawn from the game. The difference between online social games and casino gambling, understood by game developers and players alike, is that the first is fun, and the second is very serious. There are video-style slot machine games called game themes, which are available on both online social game sites such as Facebook, as well as within brick-and-mortar casinos. It was interesting to me to discover that casino operators and game developers were themselves surprised to discover that an online social game might perform very well, might be very popular online, but perform terribly and not be well liked by players at brick-and-mortar casinos. Why? Because of how fun it is, what type of fun it is. If it's a bit goofy or trivial to play, it might do well on online social sites. If it's a bit professional kind of fun to play, it might well be great for brick-and-mortar casinos. In essence, game developers and casino operators have learned the same game theme doesn't often perform highly at both locations. Players of online social games like to play fun games. Players at brick-and-mortar casinos like to have serious fun. Game developers are working hard to understand why. To get complimentary gifts from the casinos, commonly referred to as comps, joining the casino's Players Club program is a necessity. Casinos offer a wide range of comps to their patrons, but only if those patrons join its Players Club program. Some comps are available to all, like a small amount of free slot play, perhaps $20 worth, upon signing up to the Players program. Other small comps are various small kitchen and shop electronic items. Casinos work hard to make these comps interesting and not too repetitive. Invitations to visit casinos to pick up free complimentary gifts generally arrive as a bulk mail flyer at an address provided to the casino at sign-up. Small physical gifts along with invitations to slot tournaments are common to all Players Club members. Other complimentary gifts, typically of greater value, are only available as players advance in the Players Club tier system. For example, the second to highest tier level in the Players Club typically gets a 3-day annual cruise for 2, while the highest tier level gets a 7-day annual cruise for 2. The most common complimentary gifts are given to everyone, and that's what most people know about. You've been at a casino, right, on days when most everyone is carrying a white box of some sort, perhaps containing a glass pitcher and some glassware, yes? That was one of those common comps. But there's also Player Club credits. A bit of gambling when using the Players Club card earns points. A certain number of dollars spent earns a certain number of program points. This ratio is usually somewhere around the vicinity of if you spend $5, you get 1 point. A certain number of program points result in a certain number of program credits. And the typical ratio between program points and program credits is about 100 to 1. So 100 program points, that would be $500 spent, would equal $1 in program credits. That would be $1 you could spend at a casino restaurant or at a casino shop or someplace affiliated with the casino where they would accept those program credits. What the ratio is from dollars to points and points to credits is highly dependent on the specific Players Club program which you are a member of. More gambling with the Players Club card brings more expensive complimentary gifts. This progresses all the way up to the top tier status, which is a special place to be with regards to complimentary gifts. At the highest tier, it's typical to get annually a 7-day cruise with a cruise line with which the casino has negotiated a contract, a special 3-day trip for 2 to an associated casino, usually located in Las Vegas, which for me included airfare, a free room, a $500 credit on the room account, and 8 $100 vouchers to be used at properties around Las Vegas also owned by the casino operator. I've also known of other Players Club that offer the free lease of an annual luxury car or, optionally, selection of a gift from Tiffany's. Typically, the airfare for the cruise isn't included, nor are dock fees and other expenses. However, it is very nice that individuals traveling alone don't have to pay the double occupancy fee. The annual trip to Las Vegas did include airfare, as well as a limousine to and from the airport. I especially like being able to fly a family member in from another state during my last such trip. They especially liked having their own limousine from the airport. With all this talk of complimentary gifts available for Players Club members with top-tier status, I need to mention what it takes to achieve it. Of the 2 Players Clubs available at my local casinos, when I primarily focused on learning to gamble playing slots, I was top tier in one program and second to top tier in the other. For the program in which I was top tier for the first time, I earned 170,179 program points that calendar year. Each $5 I spent gambling via slots earned one of those points. So, in total, that year, I spent $5 170,179 times. So I spent, don't be shocked, $850,895. Now, I did this by bankroll cycling. I played high-limit slot machines. I did this over a 6-week period from mid-November to the end of 2013. My bankroll size was typically about $2,500, and I would visit the casino for about 6 hours, 3 times a week. During that 6-hour trip, each time, I would earn about 9,000 points on my Players Club card because I cycled my $2,500 bankroll 18 times on each trip. I usually left with more than $2,500. I'll talk a little bit later about how much I actually won. Because every 100 program points earns $1 in casino credits, those 170,179 points meant that I also had $1,701 in credits to use in the casino or its other properties. But I had a hard time spending that $1,700 in Players Program credits. Why? Because I could get a meal or almost anything I could think of just by asking. I didn't need to use the credits. By the way, top-tier Players Club members are directly assigned a casino host. I mention this for two reasons, because it was a surprise to me and took some adjustment. But I expect my audience to accomplish what they want to accomplish. If they want to be a top-tier gambler, then they will become a top-tier gambler. Imagine someone in a suit showing up at your slot machine 30 seconds after putting your Players Club card into it. They ask, quite sincerely, what they can do for you every single visit. You could be in a crowd, and they'd weave their way through it to you, ignoring other players that see the host and want to ask a question. The host doesn't stop. They're there for you. It's kind of freaky. Start thinking now about what you want. And, by the way, meals are easy. I don't want to spend too much time on top-tier status complimentary gifts, even though I expect such to occur for you. But it can take some time to get there, and complimentary gifts get started on the first day of signing up to Players Club programs. Top-tier status is usually the 4th or 5th tier within a Players Club program. The starting tier is typically the first level tier. I say typically because it is possible to start at a slightly higher tier level if you, at sign-up, show them a high-tier Players Club card from another program. I've even gotten this bump when a casino is purchased by another operator and switches Player Club programs to something new. They will honor other programs. In any case, the lower 2 or 3 tiers of a Player Club program won't have anything to do with casino hosts. Members of these tiers will be dealing with kiosks. A lot of people are visiting casinos these days, so casinos are investing in operating systems to automate some customer activities. One such activity, which has been primarily automated, is a type of promotion called a slot tournament. But another is issuance of certain types of complimentary gifts, especially food vouchers and complimentary parking, for the first few tiers of the Players Club program. These tiers are the tiers with the most number of individuals. Why? Because it requires an expensive staff to handle even the most common questions or requests when there's quite a few of them. Not all requests for comps are approved. It depends on whether the player has played recently or played enough recently to have earned it from the casino's point of view. For players from the first few tiers, this determination is made by looking them up in the system. It takes valuable time to do this manually, and casinos have realized they can hand it off to automated kiosks. By the way, it is hard to argue with a kiosk. That might also be an advantage for the casino. Maximizing take-home money is a fine goal in and of itself, but it can be mutually contradictory to the goals of entertainment and earning complimentary gifts. Simply put, one goal can get in the way of another, as we touched on briefly earlier. Maximizing take-home cash can be not very entertaining to accomplish, unless happiness is having cash. Maximizing take-home cash means doing what you have to do to earn it. It might mean visiting casinos at odd hours, not to mention less than convenient times or when no one you know is there. It might also mean walking away when you're just starting to enjoy yourself, because you know you've maximized take-home cash and it's time to leave, even when you've only just got there a few minutes before after an hour-long drive. But, as it happened to me several times, my consolation prize was the $14,000 I had in my pocket. Also, maximizing complimentary gifts means spending your bankroll as well as anything you make. You want to cycle your bankroll, yes, but ultimately spend it all to push up your Players Club points as much as possible. Maximizing take-home cash means not maximizing complimentary gifts. Don't get me wrong, maximizing take-home cash typically results in a lot of complimentary gifts, but not as many comps as there would be if comps were your primary goal. For example, let's say you walk into a casino, select a slot machine, put some money into it, bet, and win a big jackpot. If your goal is entertainment, well, that was very exciting. Take a couple of selfies and celebrate. If your goal is complimentary gifts, then you got more money to spend on candidate slot machines that cycle bankrolls. And if your goal is take-home cash, and you knew that you'd win at that moment on that slot machine, Well, unless there's another slot machine you wanted to play, it's time to go home. In future episodes, I'll explain a couple of these winning patterns to watch for at your local casinos. I've won 2 huge jackpots within a few minutes of each other, then left 45 minutes later. I've done this multiple times. I'd planned on having hours of great entertainment, or learning more about winning. But a quick reminder that my actual goal was to make money during that trip quickly set me straight. Which brings up another great point. Not every casino trip has to be focused on the same goal. However, it may take some time at getting proficient at each of these common goals before it makes sense to split your available casino time between them. Blending goals can also be a challenge, possible and ultimately where we hopefully are all headed, but definitely hard to balance at first. With practice, you'll be able to blend goals as well as I do, perhaps even better. I would not be surprised. To close out maximum take-home cash, we'll need to talk about one more topic: taxes. I'm not a certified public accountant or an authority on income taxes. However, one potential downside to maximizing take-home cash are the taxes involved. Jackpots are taxable income. Comps are too, by the way, but most people don't document their fair market value for tax purposes. But in the United States, many casinos are required to automatically withdraw local and state taxes from jackpots worth over $1,200 prior to paying out the jackpot to the player that won it. That's why you'll need to provide your Social Security number when you sign up for a casino's Players Club program. Taxable jackpots may also require the paying of federal income taxes, but this is sometimes optional, depending on the state. Also, note that local income taxes are automatically withdrawn if the casino is physically located within the limits of a local municipality that has local taxes. I simply have to warn you about a potential hazard regarding taxable jackpots and local taxes. Do you have local taxes where you live? If not, and you absolutely won't this calendar year, that's great. This warning is not for you. If you do pay local taxes, then you've got a financial situation you will have to manage carefully. It might not be possible for you to have a goal of maximum take-home money. Let me explain. What is this all about? Well, you know that federal and state tax law allows you a deduction of your gambling losses up to the amount of your gambling winnings, right? This means you can deduct $100,000 from your taxes if those were your losses after winning $130,000. This is the number I was telling you about before. Therefore, you've effectively only paying taxes on the $30,000 difference. The huge potential tax difficulty, a possibly severe financial pitfall, is this. What about the gambling losses deduction for local tax returns? There typically isn't any. Local income tax returns, using the previous example, typically would not include the $100,000 in gambling losses deducted from state and federal income tax returns. Therefore, local income tax returns would include paying taxes on the entire $130,000 instead of just the $30,000 after deducting gambling losses. Say the local income tax rate is 2.5%. A 2.5% income tax on $30,000 in gambling profit is $750. A 2.5% income tax on $130,000 in gambling income is $3,250. I think you now understand my warning about local taxes. Be careful. I don't mind paying income taxes on my income from playing slots. What I don't like is being surprised by an income tax circumstances that I haven't been previously aware of or planned for in advance, like gambling deductions typically not being included in local income taxes. If you do pay local taxes, then find out if the casino or casinos you frequent also have to pay local taxes. Since those are automatically withdrawn prior to hand payout of the jackpot, this may help mitigate your local income tax burden. If you have to pay local income taxes and for the first time plan to deduct gambling losses up to your gambling winnings on your income tax returns, then you need to understand your local tax situation better than you may already understand it. It is my understanding that most income tax preparers only prepare tax returns for the state and federal level. In my experience, these tax experts do not understand the rules for local income tax returns. The best approach I've found is to make an appointment and visit the local income tax assessor to have a frank conversation about any possible gambling deductions. The gambling goal of maximum take-home money is particularly susceptible to paying income taxes. However, winning taxable jackpots is quite possible no matter what your gambling goal is. Therefore, let's talk a moment about keeping gambling records for tax preparation purposes. Basically, if you have gambling income, you'll need to keep a financial record of your losses in order to legally deduct those gambling losses from your income tax returns. This financial record includes the date of the casino visit, the casino facility visited, and the gambling loss of that visit. This can be a written or digital record. If a taxable jackpot is won, the casino typically provides a financial record for the win, which in the United States is provided in the income tax form W-2G. Again, I'm not a certified public accountant or an authority on income taxes. This entire segment is about identifying your gambling goals. I haven't identified them for you, but rather provided information to get you started about making informed decisions before choosing one or more of them. Like my example of the high school senior or college freshman deciding what they want to major in, the actual decision can be a bit involved. When discussing this sort of decision-making process, sometimes it is helpful to first consider what isn't your gambling goals, and then see what remains. For example, imagine the worst possible situation regarding local income taxes applies to you. The casino doesn't take out local taxes, you don't get to deduct gambling deductions locally, and you want to be a top-tier slot gambler with revenue in the millions every year, with an expected 30% profit of that revenue. Should you still have this gambling goal? That's your decision. I've also met gamblers that say they want one gambling goal. They intellectually favor one gambling goal, but they have an instinct, a habit, of pursuing another gambling goal they don't seem to fully realize. This is quite human. It's okay to take a while to focus on a specific slots gambling goal. I've highlighted the three most common: entertainment, comps, and take-home income. Some of these goals are only known from afar, and we don't always know what it's like until we actually do it. I'm confident that you'll figure it out, and if needed, I'm happy to help you with doing so. For my personal assistance in a one-on-one 15-minute session, sign up for this strictly limited openings available on my website at professorslots.com/coaching. In summary, each goal is assisted by joining the casino's Players Club program. The example I use is like a grocery store discount card. Sure, they track how you use it, but you do get good and even great value in return. Entertainment is achieved by stretching the bankroll, spending time with family and friends, and maybe earning some bragging rights. Casinos provide this in spades, if you'll pardon the card game gambling term. Complimentary gifts or comps are automatic once the Players Club is joined, although higher value comps are linked directly to the amount of play and money spent. Note that I did not say amount of money won. Comps are linked only to the amount of money spent. Put another way, how much you win does not matter with regards to comps. What matters is how much you spend. Let's try to make sure that what you spend is less than or equal to what you win. Higher level Players Club tiers result in additional comps, event invitations, and trips. Focusing on take-home money can reduce entertainment value and comps, but sometimes we don't need or want more fun, trips, or electronics. We must carefully select our gambling goals to match what matters to us in our lives, and only you can do that. What I can do is help explain what is possible. That's everything I wanted to say for now about identifying gambling goals. Before going on to the next segment of this episode, I wanted to mention the topics I'll be presenting during the next episode of this podcast. In that next episode, I'll discuss a bit of the interesting and involved history of slot machines. Specifically, why do slot machines use fruit? I'll also be covering slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. state of Arkansas. Show notes for this episode are available on my website at professorslots.com/E5, where you'll find an audio player, full transcript, downloadable audio MP3 file, a place to leave comments, a link to my Google Play Music as well as Apple Podcast pages to leave a rating or review, and finally my social media sites for sharing. Again, show notes for this podcast episode can be found on my website at professorslots.com/E5. So let's talk about Arizona slot machine casino gambling. Arizona is the 6th largest and 48th U.S. state, with Phoenix as its capital. About 1/4 of the state is made up of Indian reservations and home to 27 federally recognized North American tribes. Southern Arizona is known for its desert climate, while northern Arizona is known for its pine, spruce, and fir trees. There are ski resorts in Flagstaff, Alpine, and Tucson. Arizona's population grew substantially after World War II, aided by the increased use of air conditioning. In the 1960s, retirement communities were developed. As a one-time frontier state, Arizona has a long history of gambling. However, over time, the state grew more politically conservative towards gambling until all forms were illegal. But in 1993, Arizona's governor legalized the state's tribes to offer slot machines on their reservations. All Arizona casinos offer slots, video poker, and video keno. Consequently, Arizona gambling laws have become one of the most liberal in the United States. Arizona gambling includes tribal gaming, parimutuel wagering, boxing, and mixed martial arts. So let's talk about relevant legal statutes. The purpose of this section is to inform the public of state gambling laws and how the laws apply to various forms of gambling, including a focus on slot machine casino gambling. This information is not intended to provide legal advice. This section can admittedly be a bit dry, in part because I'll try to avoid ad-libbing and remain as factual as I can about often legalese wording. But it can be interesting. The minimum legal gambling age in Arizona is 21. All casinos are open 24 hours. All gambling is prohibited in Arizona unless it falls into one of 7 legally recognized exemptions, including amusement gambling, social gambling, regulated gambling, this is where slot machine gambling would reside, state fair gambling, tax-exempt organization gambling, historical society gambling, and nonprofit organization gambling. I'll go through each one of these in turn. Amusement gambling. This is the video arcade, marathon prize, round of golf, Chuck E. Cheese, and carnival prize exemption. This exemption covers gambling on certain games of chance, games of skill, intellectual contests, athletic events, and gaming devices where contest is played for entertainment purposes, the players actively participate, and the outcome is controlled by the players alone. Winnings are limited to only replays of the game, merchandise prizes, or, in the case of athletic events, distribution of winnings to players only. Intellectual contest gambling must be registered with the Attorney General's office. Social gambling. This is Friday night poker exemption. This exemption covers gambling where the players compete on equal terms. Only the players can receive the winnings, and no other person receives a direct or indirect benefit from the gambling. Examples of a direct benefit would include charging an entrance fee, taking a percentage of the winnings, renting chairs or equipment to the players before they can participate. An indirect benefit could include gambling to attract customers to a bar or restaurant, or increased food or beverage sales because of the gambling. Next is regulated gambling. This is the Indian casino, dog track, bingo, and state lottery exemption. Slot machine gambling is included in this regulated gambling exemption. This exemption includes gambling on Indian lands pursuant to an Arizona Tribal State Gaming Compact, and gambling pursuant to a specific enabling law, gambling pursuant to a specific enabling law conducted by a tax-exempt organization whose records are open to the public, or gambling pursuant to a specific enabling law conducted by a non-tax-exempt organization that has paid all taxes associated with the gambling. State fair gambling. This is gambling conducted by a state, county, or district fair according to specific state regulation. The tax-exempt organization gambling. These are raffles conducted by an organization which is tax-exempt, has been in existence for at least 5 years in Arizona, maintains its tax-exempt status, and the gaming is run by local members of the organization. Then there's historical society gambling. These are raffles conducted by a designated state, county, or local historical society which has been in existence for at least 5 years. The gaming is run by members of the society, and no member may receive any direct or indirect monetary benefit except by participating in the raffle. Non-direct organization gambling. These are raffles conducted by a nonprofit booster club, civic club, political club, or political organization, having a maximum annual benefit to the club or organization of $10,000, where the gaming is conducted by local members of the club or organization, and no member may receive any direct or indirect monetary benefit except by participating in the raffle. Some examples of gambling subject to Arizona gaming regulation include 50-50 drawings or raffles, poker tournaments, charitable gambling, sports pool contests, and fantasy sports team leagues. Organizers and players should be aware that violating gaming laws in Arizona can result in civil and/or criminal penalties. The prohibition against gambling takes into consideration the circumstances under which games of chance or skill are played. Groups that wish to participate in social, amusement, or charitable gaming do so at their own risk and are strongly advised to obtain independent legal advice to ensure their event complies with the law. Private ownership of slot machines in Arizona is legal, without restrictions, according to state gaming regulations. Arizona has a state gaming commission. The Arizona Department of Gaming regulates tribal gaming, parimutuel racing and wagering, and boxing and mixed martial arts. The Arizona legislature established the department in 1995 after recognizing the growth of Indian gaming in the state and the need for an independent regulatory body with expertise in gaming. In 2015, the state legislature consolidated the Department of Racing under the Department of Gaming, expanding the department's responsibilities to include oversight of all parimutuel wagering and racing in the state, as well as the regulation of boxing and mixed martial arts conducted in Arizona. As I've examined the gaming commissions for various states, I found their mission statements to be quite reassuring. The Arizona Department of Gaming has established its mission as to protect the public, ensure compliance with the Arizona Tribal State Gaming Compacts, and regulate the gaming industry. To regulate and supervise parimutuel racing and wagering conducted in Arizona in order to protect racing participants and the wagering public. To regulate and supervise boxing and mixed martial arts events conducted in Arizona to protect all participants in those events. To provide and support effective problem gambling prevention, treatment, and education programs throughout Arizona. The Department of Gaming is a state government agency, but does not receive any tax revenue or general fund monies to support its regulatory responsibilities. Regulation of tribal gaming is funded entirely by Arizona's gaming tribes, as set forth in the State Tribal Compact. In addition, the department also runs the Division of Problem Gambling. This division provides and supports the treatment, prevention, and education of problem gambling. It also operates a same-day service self-exclusion program. A problem gambler can elect to place their name on an irrevocable self-exclusion list for 1, 5, or 10 years. The tribes have direct access to the database system. So let's talk about Arizona gambling establishments. Arizona gambling establishments include 34 casinos and parimutuel facilities with more than 18,155 slots and gaming machines, along with a total of 383 table games. The minimum bet is 1 cent. The maximum bet is $1,000. The 34 casinos are spread across 26 cities. Tucson has the most, with 5 casinos. The largest casino is the Casino del Sol Resort in Tucson. The second largest is Harrah's Phoenix Ak-Chin Casino Resort in Maricopa, about a 40-minute drive south of Phoenix. This tribal casino is overseen by the Ak-Chin Indian community. The casino with the largest gaming space is the Talking Stick Casino Resort in Scottsdale. Tribal gaming in Arizona is governed by tribal state gaming compacts. The Department of Gaming partners with Arizona's 21 tribes to oversee the casinos. Currently, there are 16 tribes operating 23 Class 3 casinos in the state. Another 5 tribes do not have casinos, but have slot machine rights they may lease to other tribes. Only one of Arizona's 22 tribes, the Hopi, does not have a gaming compact. In Arizona, Class 3 gaming includes slot machines, jackpot poker, blackjack, keno, and off-track parimutuel wagering. In summary, in 1993, Arizona's governor legalized the state's tribes to offer slot machines on their reservations. All Arizona casinos offer slots, video poker, and video keno. Arizona Slot Machine Casino Gambling includes 34 casinos and pari-mutuel facilities with more than 18,155 slots and gaming machines. The minimum gambling age is 21. All casinos are open 24 hours. That concludes this segment on Arizona Slot Machine Casino Gambling. On the next episode of Professor Slots, Part 1 will be about why do slot machines use fruit. I'll have an introduction, I'll talk about fruit wheel symbols, I'll have a bit more history, and then a summary. This will be followed by the second segment of Episode 6, Arkansas Slot Machine Casino Gambling. Again, I'll have an introduction, relevant legal statutes on gambling, slot machine private ownership, state gaming commission, gambling establishments, and a summary. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Show notes for this episode can be found at professorslots.com/E5. That's professorslots.com/E5. I plan to have another great episode come out very soon for you. We'll have amazing content for the show. So if you are someone who wants better success at slot machine casino gambling, please subscribe to the show, and if you have a moment, head on over to Apple Podcasts, that's formerly iTunes, and leave a rating and review. That would help so much. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye.